What's up, everyone? NASCAR season is here, and I'm here with the faceless ones, Taco and Brady, breaking down Daytona. Guys, we've got it all. The recipe to crush Daytona will be revealed within the next hour. So I'm back. My favorite race of the year, boys. I love Daytona, and Daytona brings a very specific approach and strategy that we're going to talk about here on this breakdown. But guys, the big thing I noticed when I first opened up, the starting lineups was this is an unusual Daytona where a lot of the super stud plate drivers are starting in the back. So chalk galore about to happen here. What do you say?
Yeah, that's the thing with the qualifying procedure that Daytona has is because of the lineup being primarily set by the duels. If you reckon the duels, you end up starting at the back. So we've got some really heavy hitters starting at the back. There's some real chalk we're going to have to navigate through. And then, of course, Daytona is wild to begin with. So we've got a lot to work through here.
Yeah, I started off with some hand builds, and I thought to myself, wait a minute. I ran out of money. Since when does salary matter at a super speedway? Like yesterday in the Xfinity race, salary didn't matter one bit. Didn't come into play ever. All the top plays were ass. They all qualified in the top 15. In the Cup Series, you might actually not be able to afford some of these guys sometimes. You may not be leaving $10,000 on the table a lot because a lot of really good drivers qualified up front. And while we saw, again, yesterday was the polar opposite of this, where ownership was really spread out. There was like no one was even 40% owned, which was weird. We are definitely going to see some 40+% owned guys here in this slate, but there are actually so many of them that they're probably not going to get into the 50s and 60s. There's a pretty solid core of guys that I think most people will be mixing and matching from.
Yeah, it kind of makes cash games come down to like almost like a 1v1. This is the slimmest, like the top 5 of 6 in your cash lineup is so painfully obvious. I'm not even going to say it here. It almost seems like unfair, but like it's so painfully obvious that really it does come down to one final driver that you're choosing if you're going to play in cash games. And I can pretty much guarantee that none of those are going to win the tournament today. If you wanted a single guarantee of anything, none of those, you're not going to win this tournament with a bunch of 45% owned drivers. You will win with a low owned gem that no one is playing. That's how it always goes. So one of the things I want to talk about on the first show of the season, guys, is just how to use, we're going to use effectively the NASCAR research station to kind of show how to strategically approach each race. And I want to start here with my favorite tab for Daytona. So guys, this is the historical tab, which shows effectively what the highest scores or who the nuts was over the past few, basically since the next gen era has begun. So we have it all. And the reason I like to look at this, actually we could go to this one as well, which is another great one. So a lot of people are doing NASCAR for the first time this week. Excited, NFL ended. What am I going to do next? So I want to go through some of these tabs with everybody and kind of explain how these tabs show you how each track plays differently from another. And this tab right here, this is the historic DK average by start. So what this is showing, what these tabs show is like what the average fantasy points are for drivers based on their starting position. And you can see here we have a very, very clear and dramatic benefit to starting from the back in Daytona. Drivers starting 35th through 40th have averaged 44.8 DraftKings fantasy points, where drivers starting at the pole or in the top 5 have averaged 12.1. And you can see the progression is as clear-cut and linear as it gets. It's like the further up you go, the higher the number is, right? So I'm going to leave it to you two experts to explain why in Daytona it's so much more important to use place differential drivers versus drivers starting in the top 20.
Yeah, it's a really bespoke race, and if you're starting NASCAR this week, the techniques you employ and use today won't translate over to the majority of the season because you have to have a very unique strategy for plate races. Luckily, you get 2 cracks at it because this is a plate race and next week is also a plate race. But essentially, place differential is so important at plate tracks for a couple of reasons. One, there's just less laps. The track are bigger, so there's less laps. There's less Dominator points to go around.
Wait, Brady, I'm going to explain something. Hang on, for the newbies, because you use a term that people don't necessarily understand. When Brady says plate race, what effectively that means is because this track is so gigantic, they can't actually allow the vehicles to just go full bore as fast as they can go. They'll fucking take off in the air and go flying. So they put a restrictor plate in every vehicle that effectively limits how fast it can go. And what that ends up causing is the only way, obviously there are minor differentials there still between the speed, just based on the awesomeness of the team. But in the end of the day, because of that restrictor plate, and that's why this is different from all other tracks, the only way cars really can gain speed is to tightly form up and form this insanely tight, super drive close to one another draft, right? Which is great. It makes them go faster. But if anything happens in the draft, when like one guy does a little move, a little spin, a little herky jerky, all of a sudden, 15 cars get taken out because they're all bunched up. So restrictor plate, Brady, we gotta, it's the first one of the season. So we had to clarify that very basic differential between restrictor plate racing and all other NASCAR.
Yeah, and that's why we have you here today
because I'm that person who's like an idiot who doesn't know anything. Yes.
No, not what I'm saying. But you were absolutely correct. And so on a normal race, if a car wrecks, then you're going to take out 1 or 2 cars. The cars are spread out. In this race, 1 wreck usually is going to take out 4 to 5 people. We're probably going to see 5, 6, 7 wrecks. Generally speaking, about 25 to 30% of this field is going to end up on the wrecker and not finish the race, just because of the size of the wrecks that happen. And also, you're never really out of it. If you fall back to 32nd, 28th, if you go a lap down in a normal race, you're pretty much out. It's hard to recover. Daytona, you can go from 36th to 1st, back to 27th, back to 7th, all in the span of a couple laps because everybody is riding in that one big pack. And the brilliant part about plate racing, the brilliant madness about plate racing is the car in front is always going to be the slowest car because they're breaking the air. So there's leapfrogging, there's moving around. But mainly why you need such a unique strategy, why you need to focus so much on plate differential is just because 25% of this field is going to get knocked out and you need that place differential points to hit your 50. Basically what you're looking for is a driver who can get you 50 points. That'll score you 300. That cashes in about every lineup. So you just need to find that 50. And Taco, you can speak to this more intelligently than I can. The distribution of Dominator points, even though they exist, there's 200 laps worth. It's almost impossible to pinpoint where those Dominator points are going to fall.
Well, I mean, you see fast lap points are worth about half a point on DraftKings. That's twice as many points as lead lap points. And while, the lead changes here a lot. I think it's like 17.5, the over-under for total number of different leaders. So it's going to be all over the place there. When you're at these shorter tracks and the fast cars are racking up the fast laps, you get those from being quick. Here, the fast laps are wildly distributed almost randomly to the guys at the very rear of these drafting packs. So being up front is actually bad. You don't save fuel from being up front. Unless you're just being pushed really efficiently by your teammates, it's really a bad thing. And certainly for fantasy scoring, it's a bad thing. That's why we see, just the opposite distribution that we would see at like a short track where a short track place or starting position matters a lot. It's hard to pass. Here, you can pass 20 guys in one lap, and that's not even weird. I mean, just think back to yesterday to expand on your point you were making about how no one's truly out of this race. First thing that happens, well, when the race actually starts, or no, it was before the race even started, right? Everyone was involved in that like lap 0 crash. We had Brendan Poole getting taken out immediately. People going, shit, he's gone. He's out of here. Damn near wins the race last night. We had, 5 clean cars in the entire field? Just what happens here?
100%. And I'm gonna dive onto the math a little bit as well. I want to emphasize a particular point. On a normal track, 1.5 miles, right? And back to what you just said, Brady, the lap leader is also getting fast laps. So there are way more laps this is a 2.5 mile track, I believe. So
it's 200 laps.
Yeah, it's only 200 laps, whereas like a 500-mile race at a 1.5 mile track is gonna be more like 350, right? So many more laps to go around in a standard race, but also the lead, the driver in the lead is ticking off lead and fast laps with every lap that they're leading. So Dominators all of a sudden have hundreds of points, 150, 130. So let's go over to, we've already kind of seen this, so I'm just going to jump over to historical, but here, that pole sitter, even if he leads the whole thing and crushes it and does everything, he's only here. This is a perfect example, and this is an interesting race, the most recent Daytona. And what I did here, by the way, was I went to the historical tab on the research station, and I sort, this is very important, I sort by date so I can go race by race. You can see here the most recent race, Ryan Blaney was the pole sitter, moved his way back, found his way back to the front, and somehow squeezed out, even with all of that, barely squeezed out being in the nut lineup. Like, he was not anywhere near the highest scorer in the nuts, but he only got a few lead laps, a couple fast laps. Like, it wasn't anything all that, the domination wasn't really there.
It's worth noting that in this slate too, the winning lineup did not have Ryan Blaney, because there are so many different combinations that you will almost certainly be unique if you run a lineup that's just not pure chalk in here. And it's so hard to cover all the bases with so many more drivers being in play than usual, and the fields being so big. You're really not going to get many ties, especially if you have like one or two just kind of somewhat weird plays mixed in there, like say like a Daniel Suarez here, right? So there's a very, very low likelihood of someone hitting the actual nuts if like the pole sitter or someone super low owned just barely makes it in there. And they're usually surrounded by guys who are much more standard plays. They're scoring like 0.5 less than them, right? It's just the distribution is not very widespread, as where like at a short track, if there's a guy that leads 100 laps, he's got to score like 50 more fantasy points than everyone else, and you cannot avoid him. Like, that would, you're just completely dead if you don't have him. There really aren't those guys, unless you get like a Justin Haley starting in the back, finishing in the front. That's really the only, like, there's just really tight spreads.
If you look here, you can see it. Even though Blaney scored 60.25, right next to that score was like, you had Suarez and Busher right there, at 57 and 58. So they're all really close together. Even the guy that won. And so a guy who started 30th and finished 10th was right there with him. Another one 24th and 7th right there with him. So that's kind of the aspect. And I don't remember any other time when an actual pole sitter scored the most points. To be honest, let's look at
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, well, we don't even go back that far, bro. Come on,
not going back that far.
What are we in the 80s? Like, who else?
If you were to sort by start position and just slowly scroll through, you'll get a really good. So yeah, A to Z.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, we could do that as well. But I want to show the last. Yeah, the pole sitters outside of the Blaney one, right? Usually.
Hasn't happened again in the next scenario. And if you scroll through there, you'll see, if you look at the optimal lineup, how rare it is to see somebody starting towards the front hit the optimal. William Byron did it from 5th. Cindric did it from 5th.
It does happen. It does happen. It's not.
But if you scroll all the way down now, look how frequent it is. Like, go down to like 25 to 30. Look how frequent those optimal yeses start to show up. It's just so much heavily. Exactly.
And the big deep red scores also go away, because what's killing the averages a lot of the time is when you play a guy starting up front, if anything happens to them, which chances are they will, they're scoring deeply in the negative. Your lineup is absolutely fucking toast. So if you at least, like, if you just want to play it safe and min cash, just play only guys from the very rear. You may not win the tournament, but you're probably going to return most of your money back. That's always like the safe way out with races like these. And I think an important thing to look at here is that go to DK average by start and just go down to the chart in the middle on the bottom the optimal lineup fantasy point trends, and we're going to look for a number that we're going to be shooting for, and it seems to be about 55, like the minimum number that we've seen in these optimal winning lineups. 55 seems to about be the threshold. So if when we're looking at the guys, when we're going driver by driver, they're gonna need a path to 55 fantasy points, and if that involves them getting like a top 3. It's pretty unlikely, but some of the guys starting in the rear, all they'll need to do is get like a top 15.
Yeah. Keep him. So let me just action out what this means for the simple folk as myself. There's no room for 3 drivers in the top 20 to score 55 or 60 plus fantasy points. Why? Because if I go from 10th to 1st, okay, cool. I'm sitting there at about 60. But what is happening? No one else can be first. I'm in first. That guy's in first. So what about the guy who goes from 7th to 2nd? Not good enough. So really, you can only squeeze. We'll see it here. You can only squeeze really one of the top 10. Well, you know what? Let's see. But I don't even think that there's been a situation that I can recall where 2 drivers in the top 10 were in the nuts. Maybe it's happened. Let's take a look. I don't
maybe
think so.
Not in the next gen era. Yeah.
No time recent, right? So let's go real quick through these. Okay. I just sorted the wrong thing. Here we go. Z to A. So, and then I want to sort by, I messed this all up. And then here we go. All right. So here we go. Most recent race. 37th, 29th, 26th, 30th, 24th. And then we had a pole sitter in there. But everybody else was significant place differential, right? That was a spring race, though. Let's go back to fall. Ooh, Jimmy. Oh, yeah, I love Jimmy. Here we go. Fall race. 40th, 38th, 36th.
Oh, this one's the 500.
Yeah. This is the main one, the spring race, right? So we had 3 super play stiff guys, a medium here with McDowell, which is surprising. This must have been some crazy carnage. Mm-hmm. And then you had Byron and a second guy sneak in there but look, it was a lower scoring kind of sneak in, and you were so close with some of these other play stiff guys in that one. But we had 2 from the top 20, but only 1 from the top 10. So let's scroll to the next one, because this is showing you in a nutshell. Here we go. Oh, by the way, Cody Ware, this name comes up a lot in winning lineups. Just saying, hashtag do with that what you will. Another one, 33, 27, 20th, 37, 29, 26. Then the next nearest one, 28th. So supreme play stiff only. No one in the top 19 because we got Harry Burton in there. Okay, fine. Let's go to the next one. 38, 28, 29, 34, 24, 18. Only 1 in the top 20, and he barely snuck in there, and he needed to win the race to get there. Willie Byron. Keep going, right? This historical data is key. 37th, 31st, 39th, 23rd, 27th, and then we had a guy sneak in there in 12th. 1 piece from the top 20, and he barely got in there, and realistically, he probably wasn't even in there because look at all these other close scores that really just as good. So again, only 1 from the top 20 and barely creeped in there. And look, if you didn't have that, you had Ty Dillon. Maybe you won it with him.
Yeah, that's an important distinction too. Like even if you do have 2 guys hit the optimal starting from the top 10 or top 20, the winning lineup probably isn't going to be that. The winning optimal is rarely the winning lineup is rarely the optimal lineup in some of these Daytona contests.
Yeah. So this is the main thing to first understand, and we'll get into the drivers and which one's better than what. That's what Taco and Brady are amazing at here. But I here even what Travis Pastrami got in the nuts that one time. That's crazy.
He raced on Friday.
That's bananas. But here's another one, right? 31st, 40th, 20. Oh, this was my kind of race. No one in the top 20. Yes, right. That's the shit I like. Cody Ware. Remember the name. Why does that keep coming up, Brady? What the fuck? Why do I keep seeing Cody Ware in these nuts lineup?
It's the beautiful dichotomy of Daytona. And we talk about this big pack running all together. Some cars aren't capable. They're not fast enough to run in that big pack. So they have to run outside and back. The benefit to that for a guy like Cody Ware, who generally doesn't isn't able to qualify well and isn't able to run with the main pack, when that whole pack wrecks, he drives on by. So you see some drivers do that as a strategy as well. They'll say, I'm not dealing with all this carnage. Let me go run 2 or 3 seconds behind the pack. And when they wreck, I'll just pass them. And that's how I'll get my place differential. Cody Ware doesn't do that as a strategy. He kind of just does that because that's the capability of his car. But that's why you see some of these drivers that you would never play in a traditional weekend be so consistent into the optimal lineup.
I thought you were going to say Cody Ware gets special treatment. They don't even put his car so shit. They don't even put the restrictor plate on there. He's just going full bore.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't. I think he's going full bore, but it still isn't enough to keep. But we'll see a couple, and we'll talk about it when we get into the driver. There's going to be drivers that, like Casey Mears. I mean, he's not really playable, but that car is not top tier. It's not really capable of running with the main pack. But he's going to be live because it could be an advantage in some.
Is Casey Mears? There's something bad about that guy. We'll get memory of something. That's that guy, right? Okay.
No. You're thinking of a different guy.
Okay. There's somebody. All right. I don't want to say anything. I want to spread rumors incorrectly. All right. Next race, 37, 35, 36. Oh, this is my kind of race as well, right? Look at these names: Landon Castle, BJ McLeod, Noah Gragson. Can you imagine going into a race?
That's a race where everyone wrecks. You can even see it in the percent laps completed. There are like 10 dudes that even completed this race.
I love it. I love these kind of tracks. You know why? Because we're coming in playing all of the back burners. But even when you did that in this race, you still weren't getting lineups that combined Reagan, Ware, McLeod, and Castle. That was like picking through the back turds, but the ones that you least wanted to play. Like there'd be other guys probably starting from the back. Bubba Wallace didn't make the nuts. He was starting, he was like, everybody's on him. You know what I mean? Like everybody's on Almirola or Gilly. Yeah. These other drivers that all probably didn't do well. Or maybe in this one, all the studs were up front and they just competed with each other and smashed each other into pieces and allowed the turds to just drive ahead. I mean, Austin Dillon.
Now, I will say that this is a fall race, and we do see the Daytona fall race being the highest carnage level race of any race. I'd say that these Daytona 500s, especially as of recently, have really had just one huge wreck because of the fuel saving meta. Interesting.
I thought the spring race was the crashier one, but I guess
no. The summer fall race.
That'll be a good
night race is definitely that's the one where we sent Austin Dillon into the stands. Like
the last one that we have, I actually want to show this one because the last one that we have on file, next gen races was this first one from the next gen era, I guess, or it's the first one that we have back in.
Very first race they did in the next gen car.
Yeah, there we go. So in this one, we actually did have two drivers from the early starting points that did make the winning lineup, so to speak.
Geek, I'm gonna let you figure out why the top 10 drivers did so well. Throw Keselowski in there too, because he led 67 laps. What do Blaney, Cindric, and Keselowski have in common, at least back in 2022?
Blaney, Cindric, and Keselowski. I'm assuming they were all the same team. Yeah, they're all the Penske team that was crushing.
We do see this sometimes, and that's actually going to come into play today. Maybe not so much with Penske, maybe with another team. We'll get into it.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get into that.
But stacking is something that usually I don't manufacture, especially team stack in NASCAR. It's something that's not necessary most of the time. That is something I think that's going to come into play specifically at these super speedways.
I think part of this particular race, though, I will tell you, is that this was just a random one. The scores that these two top guys put up, 55 and 53, they're barely of the level of good enough to cash. Remember, we talked about 55 being where you probably want to be. So even these guys who kind of did this, they got a weirdly lot of lead laps for this kind of race. And it was just enough to squeeze them ahead of, some of these other spots like a Ty Dillon, who had a pretty good finish at 49.5, and some of these other back turds. And maybe this was just less carnagey.
Oh, you can see just from the number of people who completed 100% of their laps. And even with Keselowski starting third and leading 67 laps, it was not optimal on DraftKings. Probably on FanDuel, but not on DraftKings.
That's a great example of what this rate, like Keselowski starts third, leads 67 laps, top 5 all day, finishes 9th. That's a core smash play on a normal weekend. On a Daytona weekend, that doesn't even make the optimal.
He almost got there, though, in fairness
Almost,
to Keselowski. Yeah, he was close. But
my favorite example is Ricky Stenhouse when he was on the pole here at Daytona, led like 20 laps, won the race, wasn't even close to optimal.
Yes.
And that's just how Daytona scores.
And again, probably like when this happens, this probably wasn't a very carnagey race. Now, I want to ask you guys an important question because I've been thinking about this whole weather situation. And we're going to go over to the DraftKings screen here and we'll go through driver by driver. But I had this thought that, you know, I've watched a lot of Daytonas now since I've become an honorary redneck, as they call me around here. I'm now officially
You're upstate.
I'm upstate New York, and that's kind of like rednecky, right, Taco? Like there are farms, you know, an hour or two away from
it's
me,
Appalachian,
a couple of hours away. So normally when I watch these races, it's the last 3 laps that fucking goes bananas, right? And crash after crash after crash. You know, for DFS purposes, you're watching your DraftKings, you're up, you know, $500,000, you're down $300, you're up 50,000, you're down 750, and then, you know, something all within the last 2 laps, right? So first of all, warning, do not call your wife into the room and go, babe, I think I'm going to win $500,000, right? When
don't open the DraftKings app until the race is over. Is how I do it.
But specifically from experience, don't call your wife in and go, babe, we're about to win $500,000. Right.
And if you do, say, hey, babe, we won $100,000.
Yeah. She said, how'd we end up doing? Oh, we lost $250. So
we're broke.
What? So don't call her in there. Do not do that, guys. Just don't. From experience. But in those last few laps, what you see is crash after crash. But there was a Daytona once, or a Talladega, or some shit like this, where it ended with rain. And what happened was you didn't get that. Daytona. You didn't get that extreme crashery on the last few laps because the drivers didn't know it was, and they were just like, "Fuck it, end it here." David Reagan, you're the winner, right? Or I think that was what it was.
Yeah, we've seen a few. That's how Chris Buescher got a win at Pocono. It's how Bubba won at Talladega. It's how Justin Haley won at Daytona.
When that happens, we get less wrecks. So what are the chances and what is our risk that rain ends this? Because I think a rain-ended Daytona will open the door to less place differential than what normally I like to see.
This is where I'm going to have to call in all the people on the chat from Florida, specifically on the coast of Florida. Please enlighten us. How easy is it to predict Florida coastal weather? Go on. Enlighten us. I imagine they're going to say it's not that easy.
There's a couple sides to this coin, too. And this is the perfect storm, so to speak, because the rain looks like it is going to come towards the end of the race. Looks like we'll start on time. Looks like we'll get at least halfway. The question is whether the rain comes before the end of the scheduled distance. If it does come immediately, ends the race, then you don't get the carnage. But the other side of that coin is you start to see drivers being overly aggressive because they don't know when the finish line is. We saw that a couple years ago in the famous, I think it was 2014 race. That was just crazy because guys had no idea which lap was going to be the last lap. So they were making crazy moves, wrecking all over the place. So it can go both ways. I think not only, it'll be close whether we get to the end. It'll depend on how many wrecks and how many delays we have. But I also think NASCAR has been very aggressive about getting the Daytona 500 finished to completion. So even if there is rain towards the end, I wouldn't be surprised if they wait it out and we see this race go 200 laps no matter what.
All right. So I'm just going to throw out there that rain ending risk is not good for our if you're going to play this for extreme carnage, which is how I personally enjoy playing it, that is one of the worst possible things for it. Brady, even aside of the 2014, what do we call it? Crash-a-palooza that happened when they all thought it was going to be the last lap. I've seen it just go the opposite way, and it's been 100%. Disappointing. Yeah, it's been disappointing. So if you needed a reason to not just go pure place diff, uncheck all the top 20 guys, it's not a good reason to do that. Like, if you don't want, there is a chance here, if it ends with rain, we probably don't see those the last few laps where normally you see another 5 to 8 cars get taken out. Literally, we're 480, 90 miles into the 500, and those last 10 miles just wipe everybody out. So just be aware that situation can change the dynamic of how the scoring comes together. And for me, and the way I'm going to approach this is I'll be a little bit looser with some of the starting up front guys than I normally would be. I'll be a little looser with them, just on this thought that, hey, if we don't get extreme carnage at the end, we could just get this weird finish where it just ends and they didn't get a chance to destroy each other, which would be extremely disappointing for me. But I at least want to have a few. I want to have a few lineups that or runs that account for that out of my 1,000 lineups that I've now got reserved. So.
And we definitely won't have rain tires at Daytona. Way too fast.
Wet tires.
People would fucking die, dude.
The stickies. Put on the stickies.
We did just see a race with rain tires, so it's not a stupid question. We just had rain tires pop up at the Clash, but even then, a tiny track like that, it couldn't handle the sleet.
Dude, it's terrible.
Almost 200 miles an hour with rain tires sounds like a great way for us to have a few Dales in this race.
I was just gonna say it's terrifying to go on like the highway and drive 65, 70 miles per hour when it's wet out. So I don't know what you want to do at 180 miles per hour in rain. That sounds like you're the hydroplaning.
Now, it's supposed to rain until like midnight. So do you think, Brady, what would you say your chances are if the rain does come a bit early? Say we have like over 100 laps ran. They're not going to call it short because it's a 500. We're coming back on Monday, yeah?
Yeah, I think if they're past halfway, I doubt they would delay till Monday. If they're before lap, they obviously will. But I think they'll be very aggressive. And Daytona doesn't have any bylaws or anything about going late. We could see this race restart about 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. We've seen it before. Yeah, so they tend to be very aggressive about getting this full race in.
That's crazy. So, guys, a little bit of mystery around the weather. We're going to have to deal with it. They clearly moved the race up because of the weather, which moved this podcast up because of the weather. So we're all a little bit off today.
And it's Florida too. It could pour down rain for 20 minutes and then they dry the track and get right back to it. It's just so hard to tell.
If it was the summertime in Florida, I would agree. Like summertime, it's just boom, little rain comes and it looks like the end of the world, the end of days, the apocalypse is here. And then 20 minutes later, it's just sunny out. But that's not quite like that's not the kind of spring weather. That's more of is it springtime? Yeah, that's more of like the summertime there. So we'll see. I guess we'll see. Real quick, we're going to get into driver by driver here, guys. So I'm going to throw most of this over to the two of you to handle. But I want to mention, if you're watching this podcast and you're like, dude, NASCAR seems fun. It's for me, absolutely my second favorite sport outside of NFL. I love NASCAR. I think DFS Army has the biggest edge in the DFS industry and in NASCAR. Everybody knows it who understands kind of how these projections come together, this research station, this suite of tools that no one else has. So we want you to come in here and you can see beside me right here on the window, code Daytona 26, 20% off. You can do that for VIP at DFS Army. So if you're an NBA or NFL only person, just go VIP, take the 20% off, the same price as one sport basically anyway, and you'll get all the sports, but NASCAR, and be in the NASCAR room with us all season long. Brady and Taco cover every race. We've got F1 as well, but every race, Truck Series, O'Reilly Auto Parts, we got the Pep Boys Auto Parts, we got all the auto parts stores and their series, whatever it is, 3 races a week. O'Reilly. What the fuck is O'Reilly? They took over from Xfinity? What happened there, guys? Don't even get into it. We don't have time.
Hey, man, I'm loving the O'Reilly series right now, all right?
Taco already took down a tournament yesterday. I was watching you. I was like, motherfucker, they had a mini-max for that thing. That
was a chrome horn.
Oh, the chrome. I was in there, too. I was in first place, by the way, in the other one, in the lug nut. What the hell happened at the end that threw my guy? Who was my stud that got crushed at the end? Was it like Hocevar? Is he who fucked me?
No, Hocevar had already been out. He wrecked like 3 times yesterday.
Something happened on the last lap. I had a huddle with.
That's the name of these. That's the name of these races. Yeah. Everything happens on the last lap.
That's what I was saying about
putting yourself in position to be there at the end.
instead of calling my wife in the room, I jump in the Army Discord. I'm like, hodl, 1 lap to go. And of course, first place turned into, 22nd place. And being up 1,000 turned into down like $20. Like, thank you for nothing. All right. Driver time. Daytona. We already know our prime guys are the ones starting in the back, but let's go driver by driver. And what I'd like to hear from you guys here, we'll just go, I think we rapid fire this. So the way I want to do this to keep it moving fast, guys, the way I've thought this through is I'm going to go Brady, Taco, Brady, Taco. We're just going to back and forth it with you guys on each of these drivers.
Can we go by starting position?
You want to go by starting
salary?
position?
Salary position may matter a bit. It's going to be easier to just like fly through the front of the field.
I like that. All right. So I'm going to sort by starting position, and we'll start at the very bad, at the worst place, these top guys. So let's just go through this real quick. You can see here, I just sorted by starting position. You see, look at the ownership. Look how low the top 10 basically are. I think there are some viable names here. So rather than, all right, I'll do this. Right. You ready? Kyle Busch, unfriend you. Don't play him. Chase Briscoe, unfriend you. Don't play him.
All right, wait, chill. Too
much?
Because FanDuel exists, so we got to talk about Joey Logano a little bit.
Okay.
All right. I'll let Brady do it. He's good at this.
All right, Taco, Brady, Kyle Busch, unfriend you?
Yeah, listen, Kyle, my goat might be washed, but I still think Kyle Busch can have a good run. I think he is one of the sentimental favorites to win this race, but just look at the math of it. He starts first. If he finishes first, that's still only 45 points. If he gets a couple fast laps, he might borderline get there, but implied win there odds are 5%. If you want to attach your DFS prospects to a 5% chance, go ahead. But for me, I don't like playing the pole sitter at Daytona.
Yeah, no, I'm just unfriending him. But maybe there's some FanDuel appeal. He's just not that good.
No, not even for Kyle Busch's fan. You would have to get to Logano to get there. Because sorry, Chase Briscoe, I'm bullish on you season long. Not playing you this week. Chase Briscoe is a complete fade.
Chase Briscoe.
Yep.
Sitting second. Win odds 23-1. Not too bad. By the way, Kyle Busch's win odds because of where he's starting are as good as anybody's. But Chase Briscoe, second. Bad.
Yep. Juan Talladega, don't care. He would need to lead a fuckload, and I don't even think that Toyota can do that here.
Logano, starting third, has some lead laps at some of these plate tracks. Relevant?
Yeah. As far as the Dominator goes, Joey's the one you'd have to circle at Daytona. Me and Taco were looking the other day. I think he has led double the amount of laps than anybody else in the field in the next gen era at Daytona. Mm-hmm. He tends to get out front. Penske's have a pretty significant advantage, at least historically, on plate tracks, and Joey has been the one to lead that charge. Wouldn't be surprised to see him lead a bunch of this race towards the start anyway, and always going to be live for a win. Problem with Joey is it's pretty boom or bust, and you can see it in the track history. Finished outside of the top 27 despite dominating all the last 4 races, but when he finishes, it's usually in the top 5, if not the top 2.
Taco, aggressive projection there for Logano of potentially 33 lead laps.
Nope, that's not aggressive. That is quite literally average for Logano, especially starting with, 2 guys that historically don't really lead laps ahead of him, with Blaney right behind him, pushing him immediately off the start.
So, I mean, Logano, it seems like Logano and Blaney are going to be these early lead lap, early Dominator, candidates. And I would say, hey, if we get a race where shit ends early and boom, maybe those are really good play. Those are the kind of drivers that might do well in a rain-soaked ending to the race.
There are 3 drivers in the field who have a significant lead over the rest of the field when it comes to average lead laps at super speedways and particularly Daytona in the next gen era. And those would be Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, and Ryan Blaney. All 3 of them just so happen to run for Team Penske. That's what we've seen. We've seen multiple years where the 3 Dominators, quote unquote, are just the 3 Penske guys. This year, I think it looks like they have just a slight edge on them, but still, they've got the starting position with Logano and Blaney starting, literally pushing each other to start the race. You've got to figure they're going to lead a significant amount. And we do have a most laps led by a driver prop at 42.5. But again, we're only playing these guys on FanDuel. If you're playing both sides, Blaney and Logano are playable on FanDuel. I don't think they make the cut on DraftKings.
Barely playable on DraftKings, but we have seen that I think, especially with a rain ending, but we have seen guys like that make the final. So I think you have to have. I wouldn't mind having some exposure to these guys, especially like they're fairly low. I don't need to go over the field here, but like 8-9%. I just don't think you can play them together. So I would avoid the pair, because if one of them's leading, the other one's pushing that guy, and that second guy is probably not getting any sort of Dominator points. And again, Blaney going from 6th to 2nd, bro, the math ain't gonna work. It's just not gonna work.
You would need to lead a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
We're only playing one of these guys in the top 10, probably at most, if at all.
Yeah. And I do use a Dominator rule. My Dominator rule for this race is at most 1 from the top 10. That's my rule for this one. All right, guys. So let me go back. Here on screen. What did I do? Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. There I am. All right. Blaney. All right. So we talked about that. Carson Hocevar, Taco.
Insane person. In a fun way. I like Hocevar, but he is hyper aggressive. The problem is he's starting just too high.
I unfriend you.
He's gone.
He was definitely unfriended by Carson Ware last night.
Yeah, he was.
This guy. He's kind of a bonehead, but hey, he's highly entertaining. He could go out there and win this race. Shoot, he's actually finished quite well a lot of the super speedways, but people kind of know what to expect from him. He's a bit of a bull in a Chinese shop, or a Chinese in a bull shop.
Crashing everywhere.
Starting 6th. I mean, they're just, the floor is so, like, it's not even a glass floor. It's a like plastic wrap floor.
Unplayable. Austin Dillon, starting 7th. Hold on. Let me just ask Betty about this one. Doris.
I unfriend you.
Knows you don't need to go further than Doris. Kyle Larson. What about him? We like the name. Sexy name. Everybody's picking Kyle Larson.
No, all the stupidest people are picking him in like the 1st or 2nd round in snake drafts.
That's right.
Absolutely not. That's free money.
All the suckers.
Larson.
I unfriend you.
That's not how it works.
He's gone. Brad Keselowski. Now Kez is
different. Whoa, all right, chill. Hey.
Yeah, he's a different story. No, Doris ain't coming out for Kez. Tell me about Keselowski. He's good at these tracks.
It's more about what we've seen from this team so far in speed weeks. We come into the week looking for the new Chevy knows how it's going to run. Now we get a 4th RFK car in the field, and Corey LaJoie, who due to a terrorist attack did not make the field. However, we saw for most of that race, RFK was not only up front, they were in a league of their own, running 1, 2, 3, 4. And we saw that same thing happening in the practice. RFK looks bad fast. And we've seen this from them before in the next gen era at Daytona. So Brad K, granted, his teammates, due to some kerfuffles that happened in that duel that got a little bit crazy, are coming from the rear. However, once they get together, I think they should be the real favorites to win this race. Like, if you're doing just team-based stuff, like RFK should be the favorite, even over Penske, in my opinion.
His win odds are not that great. Keselowski at 23-1, but I generally
That's
don't
valid. The problem with Keselowski is he is coming in off the broken femurs. There is we've seen him win 2011 Pocono. He won with a broken foot. He's a bit older now. That is the concern. We're still in kind of the wait and see phase, but he looked fine. He looked pretty comfortable in his duel.
Recent finishes for Keselowski. He's got a couple second place finishes here. 10th, 18th.
Oh, he's got wins, hella wins going back. Like, he's one of the greatest plate racers of all time.
You know what? What have you done for me lately, pal? I don't care what he did 20 years ago.
Well, what he's done for this week is be very fast and be way up front of the field with that RFK speed. So,
yeah,
like for me, I like stacking him with the other RFK boys. That's what I'm doing in my expensive single entries this week.
Okay.
So, as much as I don't like the top 10, he would be my one guy that I would play specifically stacked with his teammates.
Risky. But yeah, Keselowski, RFK. So sounds like he's got a lot of potential And, you know, so just coming out of the top 10, guys, my takeaway is Logano, acceptable for some small exposure, could lead. Blaney, acceptable for some small exposure, don't go crazy. And Keselowski, maybe a little more exciting, starting a little further back. Ninth, a little bit more room if he finishes first. Like ninth to first, you're getting the extra. That clearly will score around 60 points. So that is enough to be in the nuts.
Yeah, we still don't love it. FanDuel, fine. I think Kez is a fine FanDuel play, right? But still, for DraftKings, we're like barely splashing in these guys. We're using them in strategic situations.
But yeah, but the ownership reflects it too. You got these 9%, 8%, 10% projections for these three. You got Hocevar a little maybe too high or whatever.
People love Hocevar, dude.
Do they?
He's a fan favorite.
I do like him too. Because it's fun to say there's some hosts in this house.
There are.
Yeah. All right. More unfriend yous coming up here, guys. Michael McDowell, Brady, do I need him?
Probably not. You can get a little bit of exposure. He's pretty consistent, you can see, but the consistency manifests itself just outside of the top 10. Hasn't really had any top 10 runs. Can lead, has led before, but just not a guy I'm looking to get overweight on.
Yeah. Unfriend you. John Hunter Nemechek, I think same deal, guys. He's been pretty good though. He's like a little better at plate racing than I thought.
All right, bring in the Fox booth. Go ahead, say the line.
Wait,
John Hunter Nemechek has the best average finish of any driver in this field.
Does he?
The next gen car at Daytona.
Oh,
or I think it's just period. He has the best average finish, which is neat. That's great. That's fine. He hasn't wrecked yet. Starting 11th. Don't give a shit.
He doesn't even. He has a top 10, but he looks like he got to top 5. The problem is, even if he matched his best ever performance and goes from 11th to 5th, he's got like a 42.
Well, I think way 45? Back in the day in the like 38 front row car, he had like nothing but top 10s.
No bueno. No good. Now, this guy's been pretty good as well. Christopher Bell here at Super Speedways anyway. I don't know about Daytona, but in super speedways in general, a couple, not so
problem
much. Even Daytona.
Problem with Toyota is that they're plus 325, as where Ford and Chevy are right there, like plus 140. The difference is like they're just outnumbered. So the real issue with Toyota in the Cup Series, it's not as bad anymore with teams like Legacy switching over to Toyota. They're not as outnumbered to where they would just hang in the back and do their thing, but that's the one issue with playing Toyotas on a slate like this.
Brady, Shane Van Ginsbergen. This guy's a road course guy. Not much ownership. Any unfriend you?
Probably pretty close to an unfriend. You can get a couple shares. He's a road course specialist that came over from Supercars a couple years ago. Was uber dominant on road courses last year. Struggled everywhere else. Plate races have been okay for him, and he's improving pretty rapidly. Looked good in the duel. Finished top 15 or top 16 at the last couple plate races last year. But starting 13th, he's got to do a lot of hard work to pay off. I just don't think the field will play him much, so it's not really much risk by unfriending him or playing him really low.
No need to play him. Josh Berry, Taco, he's in a Ford. That's good.
Yeah, and that's about where the good ends with him. He sucks at finishing races. Like, he's actually horrible at finishing any race that's not like half a mile long. I think it's to the point where it's kind of like his fault. He is playable because he's in what is basically a Penske car. We have not seen. You can just look at his super speedway track finishes, and he's actually bad. I like. This isn't even like a regression situation. It's kind of like, okay, he's just kind of bad at this. And I think the field is also in tune with like, oh, Barry, that's the guy that wrecked out of the entire playoffs. I don't know if I want to be next to him, bro.
He's in the bad zone too. Starting 14th, unless you're like a stud who's going to finish first, these guys are the most dangerous. I'd rather take the Blaney and Logano, Keselowski types who are starting a little further up, but at least like they're awesome at this style of track and they have like a real logical pathway to like dominating a lot and fit and winning and being in the nuts. I don't think this guy has any. I'll unfriend you.
Yeah.
He's gone. Suarez also. Now Suarez has been weirdly good at super speedways.
Yeah, this is probably the first spot I'm interested in maybe getting a little bit of leverage. Suarez moving over to the 7 car, over from track host. I think this is probably about a lateral move. Spire is getting better, and track host kind of plateaued last year. So I don't think Suarez is down on equipment at all. And you look at his track history and his plate history, very boom or bust. But when he booms, it's usually pretty good. He's usually at the front of these races. He's respected him on the field. He'll have no problem finding help. I think this is the first spot where I'm starting to try to find a couple points of leverage. Starting 15th isn't the best, but if he's a guy that's going to finish second, and he finished second quite a bit last year at these type of races, and he even won at Atlanta a couple years ago, I don't mind getting a little bit overweight on Daniel Suarez.
I'll give a little bit of an addendum to that, which is like, this isn't anything you really want to mess with in your any put real money on it. But like in the mini max or shit like that, if you're making 500, 1,000 lineups, yeah, why not take a few stabs with these guys who are pretty turdly in general. But hey, you never know.
To get leverage either. If you're gonna play guys like these, they're gonna be like unowned. Yeah, I think a lot of people see Suarez as an Atlanta merchant. He had that like win-win second place form at specifically Atlanta, although he did have a runner-up last fall at Daytona, kind of a survivor deal there. It wasn't like necessarily super great.
And then of course, Ricky Stenhouse, he's actually pretty good at these kind of tracks. Amazing super speedway history. When he's not crashing, he's been really good. Top 10 guy, starting 16th, still a little bit up there, a little scary, but worth some exposure, Taco.
I mean, Stenhouse is great for he is the god of pre-qualifying stake drafts at super speedways because he consistently qualifies like 38th. And he was this is the one race of the year where he doesn't get to qualify 38th because he essentially qualified 38th, but it's for the duel. And the duel comes, he's actually good at super speedways, so he ends up qualifying well for this race. Not what we want to see from Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who is the definition of checkers or wreckers. You can clearly see from his history here. All of it, like 100% of his wins in the NASCAR Cup Series have come with the super speedway tracks. He is quite good at them. He's won here a couple times. It's just starting 16th, But it's if you're multi-tendering, you have to have some shares of him just because of his true top 5 upside. But
if he wins this race,
he's wrecking. And if he wrecks from 16th, your entire lineup's dead.
If he wins this race, he's going to be in the nuts from here.
Mm-hmm.
If he comes in second.
So what are his win odds? Just play him at that. His win odds are 2.4%. So put him in 2.4% of lineups, I guess.
Yeah. Top 5 not going to get you there, Eric Davis. He needs to be top 2 from this spot to lock in. And, if he's in 5th place, there's an acceptable chance he wouldn't be in the nuts. So yeah, I would go above the 2%, but a little exposure to him. Super dangerous. Casey Mears is probably the biggest unfriend you of the entire slate, which is weird because he is starting with some play stiff, but I'm
no.
Yeah, that's the big. I'm not even going to waste Brady's time by asking about that guy. Todd Gilliland. Brady, can I play Todd Gilliland at all? I think no, but you tell me.
Yeah, you can play a little bit of Todd Gilliland. You look at his track history; it's not too bad. He finished second at Talladega last year. That was a bit of a weird one, but outside of that, he's kind of just been running around 15th, which isn't enough. A little bit carnage dependent, but a guy that improved a lot and is in a Ford, which is always a bit of a bonus. So I don't know if I'm going to go overweight if the field's going to play him at 6%, but I don't mind matching or 5 or 6%. So feels about right to me.
Acceptable. Now, Taco Killer Priest, he's one of my favorite drivers. RFK, Ford, truck. Starting a little high here at 19. Killer Priest, somebody we should be interested in?
Well, first off, real quick, want to say I go to all the Talladega races. I'd say Gilliland always looks awesome at Talladega, but for whatever reason, he's way better at Talladega than Daytona. That's neither here nor there. For Ryan Preece, we've seen him run very comfortably in the front of the RFK group. When we've seen the duel, he led pretty much the entire duel. They were happy to be behind Preece. Fresh off the win at the Clash, he's looking great. His season last year, when we were doing the season breakdown, just my God, what a terrific season he had last year. So nice to see someone as young as Ryan Preece, same age as me, 35, really starting to shine in the Cup Series. But really, it's just the fact that RFK seems to be comfortable being behind him. They don't necessarily have to have Keselowski up front with his broken leg situation. Like, again, when I'm running these RFK stacks, I love Priest in this spot. It's just, I think I'm just not sure how the ownership will be affected. Yeah, he's starting in the front half of the field technically, but he's starting far enough back. Like, he could certainly make optimal, right? Yeah, it's just, I think he actually has some like domination upside in this race with just how freakishly fast we see RFK being and how willing they are to let him be the leader and not have to rely on Keselowski like that. Are you with me on that, Brady?
Yeah, I don't mind Priest in this spot, and we see Priest up front at these plate tracks quite a bit. Maybe it doesn't manifest itself into laps led and fast laps, but he's usually running towards the top 5. I'd have to go and
I think it's a sea change this year. I really do. Just with Keselowski being just a little on the weak side right now with his leg.
Yeah, and average running position of 15th, which is, I think, among the top 10 in the field. So a guy that always is kind of in play. And, you know, you'd hope he was starting a little farther back than 19th, but I don't know, man, like a 6th or a 5th probably gets you pretty close. So I don't mind playing Priest here at all.
Yeah, I'm playing him for the lead laps, crazy enough.
I love that Priest was this driver that I enjoyed. I loved him.
Yeah,
when he was like with like these shitty teams, and now he's like moving on up, and really it's like all coming together. It's like when you're rooting for a band that you heard at some club that no one had ever heard of, and all of a sudden, they start blowing up. That's what Ryan Priest is right now.
Yeah, and a crazy story too was about to be out of the sport, took a second mortgage on his house to buy a couple of truck rides with, I forget who it was, maybe Joe Gibbs or similar, and won those races and got himself back in the sport. A very interesting story.
I love it.
Why are people asking where I'm from? I'm from Indiana, but my family's from Alabama. So shout out family, man.
Shout out Midwest.
Yeah. Shout out Great Lakes.
Guys, Ty Gibbs, right? The ultimate, what do you call it when the Nepo baby, Ty Gibbs.
There's many of them in the field. Let it be known.
Yeah, we can't. There's a bunch of Nepo babies. We can't just.
We just glazed off Cedric.
Wait, isn't Ty Gibbs the ultimate Nepo baby though? Even above, like maybe it's.
I mean, Austin Dillon exists.
Yeah.
No, there's a few of them. When it comes to shout out Jordan, can my guy Ty Gibbs win today? There's a guy earlier. What did he say? I can't find it. Yeah, it was like talk. Yeah, there it is. Talk is the only one. I'm not going to do anything to help my case with this Ty Gibbs breakdown, but I am a big believer in Ty Gibbs. I think he's very talented. I think maturity is the issue. He's always had the fastest car in everything he's ever driven. He got to the Cup Series, and all of a sudden he wasn't the fastest, and I think he struggled. But you can see the cracks. You can see how the talent with Ty Gibbs, and a lot of that comes on plate races. You look at his track history, you look at his plate history, a lot of top 10s, a lot of top 5s, third at Talladega. I like Ty Gibbs in this spot. I think Ty Gibbs can run really well, and I'm very bullish on Ty Gibbs altogether this season. You talk about you kind of need 100 races to really get to know what a driver is capable of. Ty Gibbs has broken that 100 race barrier. I think this is going to be a big year for Ty Gibbs, and I wouldn't be surprised. Ken says you also glazed Josh Williams. So, yeah, that's another one. But I think Ty Gibbs is going to have a big year. I think he's going to be a contender a lot this year, and I think it starts today.
I feel like your notes are going to have us on Ty Gibbs all season long. I hope it. All right, I'm gonna be believing in it.
I think
hopefully
it's the year, man.
This is the range where you make your leverage, though. Like, no one's going to win because they played a whole bunch of Chris Buescher. Like, cool. Everyone knew he was going to be good. Yeah. Right, these are the plays. Like, this is the range, really. It's a bit underrated at these tracks. Yeah. You got to find some guys in this range. Mine's coming up, but hey, man, Ty Gibbs is fine. 16% owned. It's not like you have to play too much to get leverage.
This is where you win it, guys. This is where you win this. 100% what Taco just said is really important. Everybody's playing fucking Buescher and Byron.
Probably not enough, but yeah.
Everybody's playing those guys. Everybody is. When they're dominating, and even if you win 100% on those drivers, your DK dollars that you're making, it's not even going to go up. The only way you're going to be climbing the standings in your MME action this week is if you picked some low-owned, 6%, 20% Eric Jones. You load. Even these guys aren't that low-owned, but You picked
it's
lower
leverage, right? Like yesterday. How did I win yesterday? How did I crush so hard?
How did you win?
Because I noticed a mistake in the DraftKings algorithm.
Right?
They did not put a starting position on Anthony Alfredo after he bought a ride. That's just very obvious leverage. He came in super low owned, and he crushed. You need these you need to find not just people that are good plays. It's so like a week like this where salary doesn't matter all that much. You need to find leverage and guys that are just a bit going to come in a bit too low owned, and then fade the guys that are going to have too much ownership for whatever reason.
I'm going face on screen for this one because if you were in, and this is why you got to sign up at DFS Army and be a part of this. If you were in the Discord, in the NASCAR channel, we were all discussing this right before the race. I was like, why the fuck does Alfredo not have a number on him? What's this red flag that DraftKings is putting on him?
And I'm sorry, like, YouTube frogs.
Yeah, and what's that? What'd you say?
I said, sorry, YouTube frogs, the guys that only watch the YouTube.
Well, yeah, listen, we love you guys too. Like, subscribe, notification bell. We appreciate the YouTube crew. But if you're in the Discord, we were having this whole conversation, and Taco, you literally said in the thing, I hope no one plays him. Or somebody else was like, we hope nobody plays fucking Fefo because, of a DraftKings error. That's part of being a part of the community, being part of the team. Daytona 26, that is the code. 20% off. You don't get that every day. Be a part of this team. You're going to get that information. Another thing that our Discord guys and our subscribers get is your cheat sheets. As I'm making my lineups for this, I love this breakdown, and we're going to do these for the cup races all the time. But the cheat sheet, I've got it open. I've got stars on there. I know exactly what's going on. And as I'm building my lineups, I always have that open, and I'm fucking going back and forth between Taco and Brady. It's like a little war is happening in my brain. They don't even know about it. Oh, Brady likes this guy. Taco doesn't like him as much. And I'm like they're competing against each other in my lineups. You guys have no idea what goes on in the storm that happens behind the scenes here. So that's a big part of being in the Discord, being a part of the crew. And it's not just NASCAR. It's what we do for everything. It's just like, if you're not in there, and if you're going to take DFS, even this hobby, I'm not saying you're going to do this as your job. This is a hobby. We all love doing it. We all love winning money. If you're going to take it seriously or mildly seriously, get in the DFS Army community where you're with like-minded people. We're all talking about these races, and we're all strategizing for this stuff. And the Alfredo thing yesterday was a perfect example. Literally had that conversation in the Discord, and we all said we hope nobody plays him. And then the guy was fucking 4% owned. Like, you talk about the edge.
It was like 8%, but yeah, not bad.
Yeah. Dick's Insider is around. Dick's Insider, you might at some point get like an honorary membership. He's such a loyal YouTuber.
I don't know, man. He's saying some sus stuff earlier.
Was he?
Either way, we're an hour in, and we're just getting to the juicy plays, man.
I know we got to keep it moving, but Dixon, you might want to make us a. Dixon does some of that AI songs. Get us a Southern country music intro for the podcast.
Oh God,
I'll give you first shot at it, Dixon. But
no, hop in FL Studio, do it yourself. Let's go.
There we go. All right, let's keep it moving here. Did we talk about Bowman? Let's go back and forth here. Bowman, Brady. Do I need to play Bowman here? Taco? Anybody? Are we here?
Man, I really want to talk about Hamlin because I love shitting on Hamlin these races. But Bowman, actually, he's finished really well at these super speedways. Like, he is someone that tends to avoid wrecks, is a bit on the safer side. I really don't mind him starting 21st. He's going to be someone I'm looking to get just a touch overweight on. Hamlin, let me shit on Hamlin though.
Yeah. Let's shit on Hamlin. Go to
whether
Hamlin.
It's the sports books or ownership or what have you, the booth. They're like, granted, Hamlin is going to like damn near win favorite driver this year with what happened to him. Everyone knows he won the championship last year, right? We understand that the point system's stupid. Larson technically won. It shouldn't have been. He lost his father tragically after losing the championship tragically. Like, we all feel for Denny Hamlin. He went from being one of the most hated guys to being one of the most, adored guys in the sport right now. Sued NASCAR, helped get the Evergreen Charters going. Like, shout out Denny Hamlin. But he's always mad overrated at super speedways. A lot of the time he just exists in these. You can see from the finishes, like, why is he always among the favorites? Why is he so high owned compared to how he should be? Starting 22nd is fine, right? I don't know. This is an okay spot for him, but you will be paying up a bit for him, and sometimes salary can matter on the slate, which I can't believe I'm saying that as super speedway, but that's what happens when they price up all the guys who end up starting in the rear of the field.
His
Hamlin's
track
someone I'm
history-
looking to be just a touch under.
His track history is as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worse than BJ McLeod. It's worse. It's as bad as it gets. I would say the worst track history possibly of any driver in the field to that level.
Yeah.
So do with that what you will with Denny.Hamlin, D.Ham. We'll have lots of Hamlin excitement all season long, but probably not today. Cole Custer, another turd.
Whoa, hold on.
Hey,
First
man.
of all, let me say, I just did a fantastic Alex Bowman breakdown and realized my mic was muted. So
Wait, give us the Alex Bowman.
No.
Is he muted?
It was essentially what Taco said. I think he's a fine play. He tends to run pretty good at Daytona and on plate tracks, and this just kind of feels like the type of race that Bowman just randomly wins. But on Cole Custer, we talk about this area kind of being when contests are won and lost, and you've got Bowman and Hamlin and Jones is going to be a popular play, Reddick, Bubba. Cole Custer is a fine play. He's moving over to Chevrolet from Ford with Haas. He doesn't have any teammates, but he should be part of the Chevrolet plan, should pit with the Chevrolets, should be a part of that strategy. And you look at the track history, he's finished top 5 at the last 2 plate races. He's finished top 20 pretty consistently. If this turns into a little bit carnage dependent, but if this turns into a little bit of a carnagey race, Cole Custer is just as good of a play as a bunch of other guys in this range. So I don't mind taking the leverage on Custer.
I like it. Love that strong take on Custer. 6% ownership projection here. So Cole, why is he 6%? Because Cole Custer is normally a guy that we kind of like see starting 33rd. And okay, at this starting point, 23rd, it's kind of like a low-level driver starting high up, not going to get ownership. But you're right, Brady. I am looking at his super speedway finishes.
Yeah,
if he does anything near this 4th place finish he had here recently, I think that's nut worthy.
Okay. And also try not to get caught up in the exact spots where guys finish these races a lot of the time, because like we saw in the truck race, the difference between 2nd and 4th was like 0.1, or no, 2nd and like 5th was like 0.01 seconds. And a lot of it just comes down to survival too. Really, we just want to see them not wreck and like finish, towards the front. Sometimes the difference between a 2nd and a 10th is negligible. So it's not like other tracks where track history is really like super telling. Brady, I might have to let you cover Eric Jones because I think I'm literally just too biased. I love Eric Jones too much at super speedways.
Yeah, and
the love is good. The love is good.
Yeah, it's a fair place to love Eric Jones. He runs really well at Daytona and plate tracks in general.
Test. He's so good on the eye test. Like every super speedway too. He's just awesome in the draft.
Yeah, and you can see it in the super speedways over the last 2 years. 3 top 5s, a couple more top 10s, and yeah, he really passes the eye test. He's always up front. He's always competing kind of in that top 10 group.
He legitimately leads laps too.
Yeah, and he leads lap. The problem with Eric Jones is his secret's kind of out on him, so you really have to make an effort to get leverage on him, even though he's only starting 24th. I think he'll be a pretty popular play, 20 to 25% owned in the big contest, I would suspect. So you really got to make a stand if you want to be overweight on him. But on paper, he's a great play.
Yeah. Mr. Hidden Stash just won 6 drivers that won't crash. Me too.
Me too, bro.
Me too. Great. But just be aware that 40% of them are going to crash. So good luck with picking 6 that won't. Eric Jones, love Eric Jones, starting 24th. Great. Noah Gragson. Taco. Brady. Gragson. He's starting.
Let it go to Brady again because I think I'm the polar opposite with Gragson. But go ahead.
Yeah. I don't mind. It's similar to Cole Custer in a lot of ways. I just don't think we've seen the upside that Cole Custer carries from Noah Gragson. Gregson's aggressive. We'll see him up at the front of the pack at some point. The issue is he doesn't finish these races. And you look at his track history, he's got a good couple finishes at Talladega, but outside of that, it's been pretty bad at Daytona. Back in 22, he did have a top 5 in the Daytona fall race, but I don't know. If I'm going to, I think Gragson will be higher owned than Cole Custer by a little bit, just because he's in a Ford. He's a little bit more of a known name, but I don't know. If I have to play Gragson at 15% to get any leverage, that doesn't feel too correct.
Yeah, could be tricky there. Hasn't really hasn't really done anything to excite me. But here we go. So I guess the takeaway from this medium zone is Bowman acceptable, pretty good at these tracks, starting far back enough that he can mean something. Denny Hamlin, possible fool's gold, too attractive to people compared to what his normal results are. Cole Custer, GPP leverage, upside is there. Eric Jones, cat's out of the bag, 21%, or he's owned enough that it's going to be hard to get leverage there, but certainly I'm not going under the field on Eric Jones. He could win this. And then we got Gragson, maybe less good than Custer. And we get to the core of where we want to make our lineups. By the way, I would not touch anybody that we've mentioned so far in a cash lineup, primarily because even if they're great, even if they're the best, Eric Jones, he's awesome, all this, if he crashes, you're going to have crashes in your cash lineup. So I'd rather get like a -1 compared to a -20, right? So you have to look at the negative side in your cash lineup if that's what you're talking about. A couple of quick answers for people. Eric, for me, I set my Dominator rating to at most 1, meaning I'm not allowing more than 1 driver from the top 10 into any lineup, and I'm not forcing one of them even, but I'm certainly not going to have 2. Do you guys agree with that in terms of a Dominator rule?
At most 1, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Same thing.
Yeah. All right, let's get into drivers that are exciting, drivers that people are going to want to play a lot of. So first one up, Tyler Reddick. I cannot remember my order anymore, so who the hell's next? Tell me, Tyler Reddick. And we got to move quick. It's 12:15.
Come on, Brady, let's go.
This race starts soon.
Tyler Reddick, if you had asked me who was going to win this race every hour for the last 24 hours, I probably would have given you 24 different answers. But at one point, it was Tyler Reddick. I really love Tyler Reddick on plate races. I do think he's probably going to be a little lower owned than he ought to. So he is a spot I'm targeting for leverage. If he's going to be 25% owned, I'll probably play him closer to 30 to 33%. But he's just a really solid plate racer. He's really aggressive on intermediate tracks. Homestead, Darlington come to mind. He's a really aggressive, high-octane driver. He scales it back at plate races, and you can see it in his results. He doesn't have many outright kind of like 30-plus finishes. It's all either kind of top 10, top 15, top 20, and it's because he takes it pretty easy. There's a lot of plays in this range that you're going to have to take some stands on, and I don't mind targeting Tyler Reddick and being a little overweight.
Taco, what about Bubba? Everybody loves Bubba.
Yeah, the cat's definitely out of the bag with Bubba. We all know he's a super good super speedway racer. Starting back in 27th, he's actually someone I'm considering in the last spot for cash with my mix and match strategy. Big fan of Bubba here. You're gonna have to pay up for him. He's about time he's priced right at one of these. I'd say he's definitely better at Daytona and Talladega than Atlanta, which is a good sign for me here. I love it. I don't love how much higher owned he's going to be than Reddick, and that may push me to probably play Reddick more. But I'd say that Bubba, just overall, his stocks are up. I think last year was a great year of growth we saw from him. Like, he's actually starting to go out there and be respected, calm down a little, lead laps, have good finishes. And yeah, we haven't really talked about the new point system and how, there's a potential for a little bit less carnage overall in these. And that's kind of been the only thing that's really held him back. As you can see, when he's not wrecking, he's pretty consistently a top 10 guy. So I enjoy me some Bubba in this race. I'm a fan.
Ain't no burger, but no one, Bubba's been the man, and he's been pretty good at wreck avoidance, except for the last couple.
Yep. And then, wow, we have a 4 straight 23XI cars in here, and just in time for Brady to get his dude Riley Herbst.
Yeah, maybe you should do Riley Herbst, because I'm already getting flamed in the chat for not knowing what I'm talking about. If I talk about Riley Herbst, I'm going to get freaked out.
We are different levels of ball knowers. I am 100% the numbers guy, the data scrapey guy, but Brady could definitely, like, if you're in a race, like an actual real life race together, Brady is clearing me. I promise you.
Yeah.
Like shift and shit, bro. That ain't me.
Brady, I wouldn't. I like to think that they might
garage ball
with me. I'm the one who doesn't know what that he's talking about. Brady and Taco here are as good as it gets when it comes to understanding NASCAR. I'm just here trying to fucking DFS math it out for everybody. But Riley,
if that's the case, I'll give a Riley Herbst take.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Riley Herbst is better than you guys give him credit for. All right. Riley Herbst is a capable NASCAR driver. When you hold him up to Corey Heim, who's like the prospect of the century, sure, he doesn't look that good. But Riley Herbst is a very capable driver. He had a down season last year, but we've never seen anyone make a good transition from Xfinity to Cup Series race. Ty Gibbs, all of these guys never had a successful transition. I think we're going to see an increase in performance at Riley Herbst. And even still, if he doesn't have an increased performance, we still saw moments of promise on plate races for him. He's going to be a part of the 23-11 strategy. He's going to be a part of the Toyota strategy. He's starting 28th and he's going to be 7% owned. I don't mind being overweight on Riley Herbst, man. I know the sentiment around him is pretty bad, but he's not near as bad as I think he is.
Hey, let it be known, the transition from Xfinity to Cup was part of the reason why I hated him so much all last year. Okay, and the fact he's a little bit of a gas station sponsorship merchant, but
if we're going to criticize people for being there because of their money, we got to criticize 80% of the field.
That is true. I just never thought he was all that great.
No, but I don't think he's all that great, but I don't think he's that
this is the one spot where we've seen him do well at. It is good equipment. Like, he'll figure it out eventually.
He's had a good finish here. He had a 10th placer, at some point. So, hey, you never know.
He was all right in the Xfinity series at super speedways too. Like
Corey Haim, one of my absolute favorites. I loved him in License to Drive when I was a kid, and now here he is doing NASCAR. It's like Malcolm in the Middle and License to. They're all here as part of NASCAR now. So, Corey Haim, I like where he's starting, 29th. Brady, pretty good, no?
Yeah, I like Corey Heim here. I don't mind him. He doesn't have much experience in the next-gen car, but we talk about people that haven't transitioned into the series well. Heim is probably one of the bright spots. I attribute that a lot to he didn't have much Xfinity. He came right from trucks, running a part-time series. Regardless, I think this is just a fine play. Corey Heim, I'm not worried about inexperience. Yeah. He's, like I said, prospect of the century almost. I like Corey Heim here. If he's going to be 12% owned, I don't mind being overweight.
All right, now I'm going to give a little bit of DFS math, guys. We're getting into the 30+ range. Zane Smith and beyond.
Remember that number, 55. We need to hit 55 fantasy points. What's it going to take for these guys?
So, if you're starting 30th, you need to finish about 10th place to hit the 50. Okay, these guys have a much easier path to the big scores. And what I look at here is these ownership projections. You see, okay. We've got Cindric, Chastain, and of course, Buescher and a little Allgaier all at the 30, in this 40% range. My argument is every single one of these drivers is worthy of ownership. And I want to be over the field exposure on these lower numbers and probably at or a little under on these higher numbers because you never know. But this is where the big scores tend to come from. So like if you're trying to win this, the like some stuff that sticks out to me here is like BJ McLeod. Here he is, or Ty Dillon, or Cody Ware, who has been in nuts lineups so many times before. These guys are how you win. They're almost just as likely to be in the nuts as these other guys, in my opinion, right? But certainly more likely to help you win the whole thing if they end up doing well, where Chastain, Buescher, and Allgaier are so chalk that it's not going to matter. Like, everybody's going to have them.
I mean, we'll get to these guys as we go along. I will say that the guys starting in the rear are so good this year that they actually have the Dominator upside that McLeod doesn't have. That kind of explains a lot of the difference in ownership. But still, again, we'll get to this part of the field. But that's kind of the name of the game here is just playing off these ownership percentages and hoping some of these guys come in. Hoping you're over on some of the guys that come in lower than they should.
Just a broad-based.
The guys get over-owned.
Yeah, broad-based play a lot of these guys, and especially the ones that are not the chalk. You want to be over the field on those guys because, again, Cody Ware, nuts like 4 times out of the last bunch of things. We've seen BJ McLeod get there. It's always some random name. You're like, how the fuck did he get there? But we talk about Zane Smith. Brady, you love Jimmy Johnson. So talk to me about Jimmy.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Johnson's in a really good spot. And you saw kind of his strategy last year. He ran 27th, I think, for most of the race. He was not in the main pack. He let everyone else wreck and was there at the end. I suspect he'll do that again this year. Maybe a little more aggressive because now legacy is on the upswing. I think these cars have gotten a little better, but Jimmy Johnson's just a very intelligent racer, obviously. Obviously not really accustomed to these next gen cars, but that doesn't really matter at Daytona. Starting 31st, I like the spot. I think he'll stay out of trouble. A little bit carnage dependent because, like I said, I do think he rides at the back and let some other guys wreck. And if they don't wreck, he's just going to finish at the back. But I don't. I think we'll get some wrecks, and I think we'll see Jimmy Johnson do all right here.
Is Jimmy Johnson worthy of cash? Could I do him in the cash for my last spot instead of Dingo?
He's in the mix for me. I'm mixing and matching, and he's one of those splash in guys. But also, we did not talk about my favorite driver, Zane Smith. I'll not let you guys skip him.
That's your favorite? Zane, yes. Talk to me.
Love Zane. So we saw the duels that while Front Row doesn't have the speed of Penske and RFK, it seems like Ford still has the advantage. The Chevy knows we don't have like evidence of them being fast yet so far. At least maybe they just don't have the notes for it yet. We'll see. Zane Smith, I saw he's starting to gain some momentum in the snake draft. So I don't know if that's just an ADP thing or what, but he's starting in the 30s. He is a very good, he's a very conservative crash avoidance kind of guy. There's a lot to like here, and I think he's going to be on the lower owned side. But I mean, the difference between him and maybe like Chastain isn't all that big, but the ownership's going to be like less than half. It's one of those guys I'm certainly going to be overweight on, and I don't know. I could be a little biased, so maybe I'll run it past Brady as well here.
Yeah, Brady, your thoughts on Zane?
Yeah, no, I'm in line with Taco. I think the concern with Zane Smith is just the track history. He really struggled here last year, but on all the other plate tracks, he did fine. So, yeah, I don't mind getting exposure to Zane Smith. I wouldn't be surprised if he's even a little higher owned than 18%, but, the Cindrics, Chastains, Byrons of the world are going to suppress his ownership for sure anyway. So, fine play.
All right. Taco, what about Connor Zilic, the new kid in town? Starting 32nd. Can he plate race? It looks like he had a decent finish in Atlanta.
I'm still overall kind of fading the Xfinity to Cup transition. We saw him do fine at the Atlanta race, just kind of survive. Like he's super, super talented, right? We're still kind of in a wait and see period with Zilic. I tend to avoid these more green guys. Like I'm not going to have a ton of Corey Haim. I'm not going to have a ton of Connor Zilic just because I expect them to make some rookie mistakes. And, the guys may not be a Super Bowl pushing or drafting with them. They may want to push someone that they've been pushing and are used to for years in situations like these, But still, Zilic starting 32nd, you have to have him in the rotation. I'm probably just going to aim to be a touch underweight because he's coming in with such hype and he's still so green.
That's fair. 21% owned. I mean, he's right there. Not super different from these other guys, but the next two are kind of the lowest owned rear guys. And I'm not sure that that's justified. I get it, but we've got Cody Ware and Ty Dillon as our next two. And listen, Cody Ware, he's got a 6th place finish, a 4th place finish. And I even think this 14th place finish might have been a nut run for him as well. So he's been, all over the winning lineups here. What's he doing? How's he doing that? And is this a leverage spot, Taco?
I think it is for sure. Go for it, Brady.
Yeah, Brady. Sorry.
I'm sure I agree.
Yeah, I think these are two very good plays, but very unique plays. Cody Ware generally just hangs at the back, lets everybody else wreck, and he's there at the end. He stays out of trouble, keeps a clean car. So he is a little bit carnage dependent. In a race where we don't see a lot of carnage, we don't see a lot of DNFs, you probably won't see Cody Ware sneak into the top 20. But in a race like this, rain in the forecast, I do think I'm leaning a little more carnage. So I think Cody Ware is a good play, and that's how he does it. He just hangs back, lets everybody else wreck, and passes them. Ty Dillon's the opposite. Ty Dillon goes in, he mixes it up. He wants to be in the top 10 all day, and you usually see him in the top 10 all day. So not carnage dependent at all, but he's down on equipment. Obviously, me and Taco, if you watched our season-long breakdown, we have some concerns about Colleague as a whole, as an organization over the next couple of years as they transition to Dodge. I don't think that'll be a factor on plate races. So I think Ty Dillon's a fine play. He goes in, he mixes it up. Obviously, a little more risky because if you're mixing it up in the top 10, you're going to be part of those wrecks if they happen. But we've seen this work for Ty Dillon. He ran top 10 at Atlanta last year. We've seen him finish in the top 5 at Daytona. Both are good plays, but for very different reasons. Yeah,
I mean, Ty Dillon, just his track history here, not too bad at all. Keeping, he's got 2 11th places and a 14th, and if he's anywhere in
gets
that
better
zone,
the farther you go back to. He's always been good here.
Yeah,
I
well,
just wish that we saw the speed that we saw from him last year in speed weeks. It doesn't seem to be translating, but he'll still probably be fine. It's a great leverage play.
we're getting to the super like high owned zone here, but there's one. So these guys are all great plays. I absolutely love every single one, even McLeod a little bit. But like I love these guys who are coming up next. Everybody's going to be on them, and so you're not going to win. You're not going to win this thing by just playing lots of these guys. But effectively, the cash lineup is staring us in the face right here. Let's get into it. Allmendinger starting. Where I can't even remember here.
35th.
Yeah, he's starting 35th. He's been pretty good. He's in that Cowlig equipment, though. Should I be scared about that?
I'm worried about Cowlig long term as they transition into Dodge over the next couple of years, but I don't think it matters too much on plate races. So no, I'm not concerned about the equipment.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you for having that concern. I once had a Dodge, and I'll tell you right now, reliability was not at the top of the list of what that car came with. Like, it was horrible. Austin Cindric, best play on the slate, Taco?
No, but second best.
Second best. Okay.
He absolutely crushed this race last year. I think he's actually led more than Joey Logano has over the last since 2023. Sometimes we don't include 2022 in our next gen averages just because it was a very weird year. Them getting used to the transition to the next gen car, and we haven't really seen a lot of the stats correlate as well from that year. So going back to 2023, yeah, that's kind of the way we're going to be going here. But Cindric, won at Talladega last year, has wrecked out of the last 3 super speedway races. Whatever, man, he's really good here. Penske for cheap starting. Well, maybe not for cheap, but starting all the way in the rear. I mean, that's about as much as you could ask for. He's going to be super popular, but I don't know. He's going like 5th in snake drafts for some reason. So he's not, I don't think he's going to be as popular as Byron, as Buescher. But he should be. He should be. Like, in my opinion, I would rather have him than Byron straight up. And Byron's ownership will be maybe a touch lower owned just because it's actually kind of hard to afford him. But Cindric is someone that I think should be like he's a cash cornerstone, obviously. Like better than like Chastain. Really, he's solidly my second favorite play on the slate. The upside is there, and there's also domination potential with him. Like, he could go out and lead 50 laps legitimately.
Remember Chastain last year did that from like the last place, and then he was just also hammering lead laps. Can't remember.
I think that was the Coke 600, and he got there like right at the very end.
Atlanta, yeah.
It.
So Cindric, great play. Penske, Ford, all the arrows, and of course the starting position 36 is crazy. Same thing with so we got Chastain here, Brady, and it's kind of like the same thing. He's the man. Chastain, I think Chastain actually showed up in more nuts lineups last year just as a driver than any other driver in the entire thing. It was like sneaky, but this guy was nutting all over the place, winning race,
Doing
great. He was nutting all over the place.
Yeah, sure.
Ross Chastain. I mean, what's to say? 40% on this guy's the chalk, right? Great play. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, there's not really much to talk about when it comes to these. They're just good plays. There's not much you can look into when it comes to track history and ability. All these guys are capable on plate tracks. All of these guys have the potential to run towards the front. They don't like your pronunciation of McLeod.
What is the correct pronunciation of that?
It's BJ McLeod.
No, it's not. It's
canonically BJ McLeod.
And I can't say colleague racing. My accent doesn't allow me to say it correctly, so I apologize.
I like McLeod in the.
We love a good BJ McLeod.
It's a good time to talk about BJ McLeod. I love BJ McLeod. American Dream BJ McLeod. He's one of the most respected guys in the garage. Everybody loves him. And he sold his charters at the perfect time, was given a charter because he had been competing full-time in the Cup Series back when charters were introduced, sold his charters a couple years ago, made out like a bandit, and now he just spends all his millions of dollars to buy decent plate race cars to go out here and race. I think he's I think he's a fine play. He wasn't that competitive in the duels. He got in through some through some wizardry that happened with Anthony Alfredo. But still, we've seen BJ McLeod run towards the front of these races. And the nice thing about BJ McLeod too, while everybody else goes into fuel saving mode, he's just going to keep the pedal to the floor and drive right to the front. So I wouldn't be surprised to see BJ McLeod towards the front of this race. I wouldn't be surprised to see him lead laps at some point. It's just a matter of if there's enough carnage to get him to pay off. Because I don't know if he's got a car capable of competing up in the top 5 when everybody else is full throttle.
Wouldn't it be ironic and funny if McLeod is in the front of the just leading, being a lunatic, just not caring about gas or whatever, and then rain happens and they end it, and it's like McLeod just nutted in your face.
Okay, bro. I would say so. I'm at the track watching at Talladega pretty much every time, but I watch Daytona from TV. My take on BJ here is that he's a little too. So he's like lower on the rest of these guys in the range. I think it's for a reason. I think he's carnage codependent. What I mean by that is, at least at Talladega, he's literally always off the pace. Every single time he's running out by himself, the crowd does a little clap for him when he's out there driving by himself with like maybe JJ Yaley, right? But in order for that to work, there has to be a big one, like a giant wreck. There's got to be like half of the field on the in the garage for him to have a good finish, right? That's how we've seen him do it. And with the fuel saving meta, and maybe even potentially just a lower carnage rate overall with the new rules. I almost said rules package, but no, the new playoff format, points format this year. It kind of makes me think that compared to the rest of the guys in this range, his upside is nowhere near as good as some of these other guys who could just legitimately drive up to the front and win the race just off of speed. So that is my issue with BJ. I know that Talladega is different than Daytona, and yeah, sure, the TV doesn't really focus on guys like BJ as much. I do imagine that he's in the pack a lot more than he is at Talladega. That's just my one concern. How would you agree with any of that, Brady?
Yeah, I agree. The only caveat to that is when the field is fuel saving. BJ McLeod does not fuel save. He said as much too. Like, he will drive to the front and be the leader if that's the case. But yeah, there's a couple guys in this field, and I think Cody Ware is the same way. Very much dependent on a little bit of carnage to hit value.
Yeah, and we've seen recently the trends kind of go from like multiple big ones like we see in Xfinity to the last few Daytona 500s has really had just like one, and they've come at the very end, and we've almost had like green races. So this is where you would split up your carnage runs and your more green flag runs, and BJ would be pretty much unchecked in your green flag runs, but he would be heavily in rotation in your carnage runs if you're going to do it that way.
So effectively, big difference between McLeod and let's call it Dinger, Cindric, Chastain, Byron, I'd say, and Buescher. These other guys all they don't even need carnage. They're just going to be awesome, or they crash, right? Like, basically, Chris Buescher is either going to be in the nut lineup or he's going to crash and get into carnage problems at some point along the way. Willie Byron, same deal. Chances are this guy's either in the winning lineup or he crashed. Where BJ, maybe Ware, Dylan, these are more types of drivers that they'll excel in a situation where Cindric, Chastain, Byron, and Buescher all crashed out, and now it's just a crazy free-for-all of turds from the back moving their way up. It needs a very specific kind of, I guess, race script for it to work, but we've seen it before. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, after we get to this next group, which are like extreme studs, Willie Byron and Chris Buescher, sandwiched between them is Justin Allgaier. So Byron has been great here. He's won here. Taco, anything not to like there?
He's going for 3 in a row. I guess the thing with Byron is I think everyone's going to assume he's going to be the highest owned guy, and then they go to make lineups and they're like, oh shit, 10,000 is expensive. I might want to go down from Byron to Chastain. That's my thing with this slate. Like, if you can get to extra Byron, you're probably not leaving a lot of salary on the table, especially if you're heavily invested in like the Cindrics and the Buschers of the world. It's just kind of weird how the slate worked out this year with that. He's a great play. Obviously, again, there's not really a whole lot to say about someone who's won this race multiple years in a row, starting in 39th. Like, that's pretty free.
Yeah, I mean, if you
very
crash,
chalky.
Yeah, you don't even get a negative. Justin, is he any good at this type of track? It looks like we had one Daytona run with Allgaier, and he finished in 9th. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Justin Allgaier is a fine play. Somebody in the chat can correct me. I believe this is a JRM prepared car. They prepare the car in the JRM shop, but they get a lot of help from Hendrick. I don't think they prepare it in the Hendrick shop, but it's a JRM prepared car with support from Hendrick, so it's very good equipment. Justin Allgaier, a very good plate race driver in the Xfinity Series, has a couple years of experience in the Cup Series as well. This is a fine play, and Justin, for the most part, held back a little last year, but by the end of the race was up in the pack, mixing it up. I suspect that's what we'll see this year. And not carnage dependent by any means, just a good play. Allgaier is very, very talented plate racer.
I want to do quick math. We have the best play on the slate coming up. Chris Buescher starting 41st, starting last. Taco, you have him projected for 49% ownership.
It should be 70 or whatever, but maybe like 65. Like it should be projected up to the carnage rate.
But if I put 70% of my lineups on one guy and he crashes, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like you're dead. So how much of that do you want to own? One thing I will say about Buescher, and to agree with your point, Taco, is if you start 41st and you're in 20th place, you're already kind of sitting at about 42 fantasy points, 43. We need to get around 50. So like, about a 15th place finish from this start is pretty close to nuts lock.
Here's the thing. All right. For looking at, if you ask me just off the top of my head, who doesn't crash at super speedways? My first answer would be Chris Buescher, because he doesn't, especially at Daytona, which is his best track. You can go back as far as you want. Buescher is a finishing merchant at this track. He is so good at avoiding wrecks. So he's got that going on for him. He's starting 41st. Yep.
He wrecked in the duel.
Yep. I'm just saying, generally that's the trend. That's his style. But the other thing he has going on for him is he's starting 41st in the Helio Castroneves spot, which is insane. But the third thing that I think is the most important here is that RFK looks to have an edge on the field, and he could legitimately go out there and lead tons of laps. Starting 41st, he could do that. He could do that in stage 1, and it would not be a shocker with how super speedways are. So I think he has an edge on all of the other guys in this range. I think he has a couple of edges. He's one of the safest guys. He's on the fastest team right now, and he's starting like stone last. Like even farther back we'll see anyone start all season long. I think it's the best play on the slate by a mile.
Unless he crashes.
Yeah, but you could say that about anybody.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there
as
you
safe
have
as
it.
it is, 25% of your plays are going to wreck no matter what. So
is he going to crash 50% of the time? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it's funny. Ken Caniff had an interesting comment here. A 0-2 rule on Buescher, Ross, Cindric, and Byron. These four are so freaking chalk.
Yeah.
The odds of all four of these guys coming through for you is really kind of low. I would have added Chastain to that mix, Ken, but I get why you don't want to. The odds of them all kind of not crashing are low. And also in Daytona, you know what happens? The chalkier they are, the more likely they are to crash.
That's a fallacy. That's 1,000,000% a fallacy.
I know, but it works in my brain.
Nope. Hey, it's not how it works in the numbers, man. That's all I care about.
It lives in my brain. So like, it just feels like, these chalk guys always kind of fail. So clear-cut best plays. Most of these guys, if they do not crash, they're, going to put up a monster score and they'll outscore everybody else. So I think this is one of those places where individually everybody has to do their own, like, what is your comfort level? Understanding, do you want to be a chalk eater? Do you want to be a chalk fader? But these are absolutely smash plays starting in the back in a crashy race where anybody can be taken out. So again, in cash games, I think that Cindric, Chastain, Byron, Allgaier, and Buescher, they're all kind of lock button in there. And just like who's that last person that you're going to use in your cash game, because these guys, even when they crash, the great thing is you don't really get a negative score. Anybody else, you can get a negative score. So guys, final thoughts on, we have what, about an hour and 25, an hour and 30 minutes left until lock. We got to run some crazy amounts of lineups. Any final thoughts?
Geek, real quick, it won't take too long, not as long as I have out. Do you want to do a quick domination setup? Just kind of put what the settings you would use here.
Yeah, since I've already got it set up, I can definitely do that. And all right, so basic settings for me today, I'm going to be at 2 uniques. What I did was I did 40% max on any driver, and then I'll go through it and I might make little adjustments if I'm getting a little too much, especially of the early starts, or I might add a little bit to a driver who I feel like, hey, I'm cool going a little bit over the field on. Based on our conversation, I have adjustments to make. Obviously, this is what I was doing before the race started. Dooley wants win picks as well, our favorite bets. But the only rule I made for this is stack at most 1. So we have Dominator settings here, and I've got Taco wonderfully set up the top 10 drivers as potential Dominators. And I made my own decision that I don't want any more than one of those guys. That sound about right, Taco?
Yeah. At most 1. Certainly the way to go for me.
Do you feel like if I'm limiting my set to 40, should I make an exception for Busher and go a little above?
Yeah, I've been like going up to 50 on some of these guys. Really? I don't mind being chalky on the first slate of the year when you're literally going up against guys who are unironically playing Kyle Larson. Like I love soaking up dead money. It really depends on your personal strategy too. There's really no end all be all advice because we all have different styles. Some of us are very okay with winning $0 and just taking an aggressive stand to win it all. A lot of us just want to survive on to next week as well and just be able to participate and maybe hedge more. So depends on your personal DFS style. But yeah.
Are you a super contrarian? Fade the chalk.
In some spots.
I do think that an ownership cap is not a bad move here. When I did my run before, and I don't have a live run going, the highest ownership I was able to produce is around 222%. But really, down to 200%, you're only eliminating like the top 6 or 7 or 10 lineups that you make out of 1,000. So I think like if you want to be aggressive in terms of lower owned, I think about an ownership cap around 180 is comfortable. What do you think?
I feel like 175. So yeah, you're right there with me.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, so those chalky lineups. The important thing, and I was saying this in the chat before, you're not going to win with a cash lineup at Daytona. We know who the cash lineup is. That is not
winning cash games.
Yeah, you win your cash. Be hard. Yeah. Well, listen, everybody's on the same 5 of 6. So cash games is basically pick one guy, and good luck with that too. That's a little tricky. But as far as like these tournaments, you're not going to win them with that chalk cash lineup. So you might as well just get rid of it. And 180, 175, Taku said was good.
This is the one spot of the year where I might go 2 uniques. Like I'm usually a 1 unique guy. Super speedways though, with how mix and match your stuff's going to be, don't mind 2 uniques at all.
I think that's very intense to go 1 unique. Personally,
if you have a tight core like I tend to, the 1 unique's perfect. I also just don't mind having lineups that are similar.
I don't mind that either, but here I want a little bit of diversity. I need to get to those. Yeah, I need to get to those like those Bowman Killer Priest plays that probably don't show up when you have 1 unique.
Speaking of Killer Priest, there are actually some group rules I would set up for.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Manufacturer stacks, just teams that are in good spots, and it's mostly going to be Team RFK in this one. And if you're doing 350 lineups, I might have 25 RFK stacks, maybe even 50.
So let me just show. I don't use those rules, so I'm going to let you know. If you watch this whole thing and you haven't figured out, I'm not going to give out the cash lineup. But if you haven't figured that out, I literally said 5 of the 6, and then you pick one.
I mean, by default at a super speedway, the cash lineups, the guys starting in the last 6 spots. So put you on game. That's just what people will run.
What's the cash lineup? I'm sorry, but Cindric, Chastain, Byron, Allgaier, Busher. That's 5 of the 6. And then pick the last one out of this group.
Yep.
The only way you're going to differentiate your cash lineup is that last pick. And I don't know which one's the best one.
It could be anything from Bubba to BJ.
Bubba, BJ, Allmendinger's in there. Jimmy
Cody
Johnson
Ware,
is interesting.
Ty
Zoe.
Dillon.
Yeah, all of them.
Doesn't matter.
So you got to pick
I'm
the
running
last
them all.
spot.
That's my cash strategy. I'm just taking those 5 and then
I feel like
literally
doing
splitting
that,
all my cash lineups up and just running one of each. Like
you're making 5 different cash lineups?
probably like 6 or 7. I've always done that at super speedways, and it's always cashed pretty well.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's your strategy. You could just jump
Mix and
around
match.
between these other guys.
Yeah.
Now, back to the Dom station. Just show me real quick here. How do you make a manufacturer rule?
Sure. For RFK, it should be run 3 out of 4 if Core the Joy would have made the field, but whatever.
So we're going to do 2 out of
this
3?
one. I think if you're going to do 50 out of 350, you should do stack between 2 and 3 and then put the 3 RFK drivers just for an example here.
Give me the name.
You do the Busher, not Cindric, Busher, Keselowski, and Ryan Preece.
And Preece. Yeah, I mean, you can't play 3 of these guys. So yeah.
I like playing all 3 of these guys together. That's like my brake pad, or not even my brake pad, it's
really?
my engine block entry right now. Yeah, for sure.
It's balls. Okay.
Yep.
In honor of Taco, I'm going to set this rule up for even myself, and I'll make, let's say, I'm doing a shit ton, so I'll do 30 lineups like that.
There you go. This is the one track type I would make these kind of rules at.
Okay. Yeah, I don't normally do those kind of rules for NASCAR, but hey, cool, right? Like I'm making 1,000 lineups here. I don't mind having,
we've seen it.
Yeah, I don't mind having,
especially if for some reason the third stage is just a green flag run, and then you get guys split up based off of pit strategy because you have all the Chevys go pit together, all the Fords go pit together, and then all the Toyotas go pit together. If you're to end like that, like you could just we've seen, like, especially in like some lower series, like just an all Ford or probably not all Ford in the lower series, but like an all Chevy winning lineup. Like I think last year in the Xfinity race, it was like 1, 2, 3 Junior Motorsports. We've seen the problem with Penske, Eric, making a Penske stack is impossible. They're all starting up in the front, so it just would be bad. But I think RFK starting far enough back, even with Keselowski starting 9th, they're starting far enough back. You can stack these guys together, and it's going to go well.
Works for me. So that's rulable. I have 2 unique set up here. You want to be in tournament mode. And again, I did an exposure max of 40%. I tend to like to go under the field on chalk, like the extreme chalk from the back here. I like to be a little under and a little over the field on those less chalky guys. But
I just think the one specific really good chalk play down low is actually so good that you should play more because he's priced up.
So Busher.
It's him specifically. I think Busher is in just such a terrific spot, and he's so risk averse that he's just a smash for me. And I will try to go under on some of the other guys down there. Maybe
I'll be over
like Byron, probably under on Chastain, but it's going to come up to your opinion also. Don't just blindly follow us.
I'll be over on Jimmy Johnson. I feel like Jimmy Johnson is going to be the nut.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, that's my nut pick. All right, guys, win picks for this race. Brady.
Yeah, like I said, if you had asked me that 24 different times over the last 24 hours, you would have got 24 different answers. But I think I've settled on Keselowski for a couple of reasons. I think he looked really good in the duel. He's always competitive at these plate races, and specifically Daytona. But I just love the price. Plus 2,200 is long for Brad Keselowski in any plate situation. So I'll go with Keselowski.
I like that. Taco, how about you? Win pick.
I'm actually gonna roll with you know what? Let's get a little exciting here. Let's go Busher from 40 first. There you go. Add a little to it. We're both going Team RFK. It makes a lot of sense here. And then something else we're going to add for this season between me and Brady. We're going to do a 36 for 36 season long. Just for fun. I'll track it on my end. I'll share the sheet with you after this, Brady. But yeah, so we've got 36 races. There are 36 charters. You ever done a one and done league before in like other sports?
Oh, like Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've done that, of course. Survivor, it's called. But so, is there something like that for NASCAR?
Just gonna track one with me and Brady here for each race. Send out a pick.
Again, explain again what
it's strategic. So you just use it's a one and done. So you can use one each the whole season long. You can use each driver one time. And right now, our remaining drivers are or just it's for fantasy point scoring. Right.
Okay. Okay.
But we're probably going to burn some shittier tier drivers here because it's a super speedway. But yeah, it's tactical about who you're going to save for which spots. Like we're probably saving Bell for New Hampshire, etc. So Brady, I'll let you get the first pick, and I won't pick the same guy as you. Who are you burning here?
Let's go with Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Whoa!
I can't imagine another situation where I'm going to want Stenhouse, but I think he could score well today.
Unexpected.
It is fantasy scoring wise, not finishing. Also,
I think that's a poor choice.
Be known.
Oh, we're doing fantasy points, not finish. Okay, hold on. Listen. We got to switch it up then.
Yep.
Are we doing full time only?
Full time only. Yes. We're not going to be able to throw Cody out there. It's just 36 for 36.
Yeah, let's go with Ty Dillon.
Okay. That's what I was hoping you were going to say because I wanted to play Cody Ware.
Perfect.
Go.
I would do Jimmy here.
Not full time.
Oh, he's not full time? Not considered? Or Dinger?
Dinger, you could play Dinger, yeah.
Well, am I in this contest? I'm not going to be here for
Are you going to be here every week?
You're not going to be here after NFL. That's why you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely not. I always drop out of these things, and it's like, hey, Kevin's in the season long.
No, maybe the 18th
line up in months.
Yeah.
All right, great stuff, guys. 1 hour and 20 minutes to lock. Go run your lineups. Promo code Daytona 26. Get in there. Start using the domination station to crush. Guys, Taco and Brady all season long. All of the NASCAR races, all of the O'Reilly races, all of it. So much race action. This is like the best. I love a once a week kind of sport. Reminds me of football, and it makes me happy. So
this is our 5th race of the week. Shoot.
We've had so many races already this week. It's already awesome. So get in there, guys. Good luck tonight. Get your helmets on your avatars because you're going to be winning tournaments. You're going to want to get that swag. So go get a DFS Army avatar. Put it on your DraftKings or FanDuel, kind of profile. And when you win, send us that screenshot. We are going to send you DFS Army swag. See this hat? You want that? Look how good I look. You should see how bad I look without the hat. It's all
pretty clean, bro.
Yeah,
I love that thing.
Yeah, this thing's fire, bro. It's fucking golf hat. You want this? You want that swag? So get in there. Get your Army avatars up. Helmets up, everybody. Good luck. And we'll see you. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.
Helmets up.
Helmets up. Let's go.